Touchdown, you're back with the Midwest Express. It is Thursday. I have been super busy, mainly doing rideshare over the last few weeks and even the last month. Rideshare has pretty much been where it's at as far as making money, but there is a lots more saturation, and it's caused me to change the way that I work. And I talked about this earlier in the spring where there was this mass migration of drivers moving apart or moving around, and I've never seen it as drastic as I see it today. And I hear lots of drivers complaining about other drivers that are coming long distances into their markets and kind of taking some of the shine and making money in your market. And some people get very upset about it. They report it to Walmart Spark. They want to report the vehicles that the people are driving. They want these people out of their market because now it's affecting their cheddar. And this is kind of, it's been foreseen in a lot of gig videos and chat rooms for the last 12 months. People have been talking about how the economy is getting tougher. And you know, unemployment is still very low. The rates of unemployment are very low. But the amount of people, because of inflation and the cost of everything, a lot of people are looking for more money to supplement the inflation of prices of everything that's gone up. And I always tell people that when they ask me, should I get into gig work? Should I do Spark? Should I do, rideshare? I always start off with, if you have a decent job and you can get overtime, first just work the overtime, because there is lots of things that can come up and things that arise when you do gig work. One of my fellow drivers just yesterday didn't get one flat tire, but he got two flat tires, 4 nails. Somebody threw a bunch of nails in the road or whatever, and he ended up getting 2 flat tires at the same time. And it kind of took him out for the day. He had to stay in a hotel overnight till he got his car fixed the next day. And it wasn't as bad as it could be because the tires were able to be repaired. But if he was going to have to buy, a new set of tires, that could have set him back $1,000. So when you're on the road, there's more chances of things to go wrong, accidents to happen. I've seen several accidents in the last few days. One from an Uber driver in the parking lot hitting a barrier. Another one of an Uber driver involved in a car crash on the highway. So you got to be careful when you're doing these gig apps. It's easy to become distracted because, especially if you're running multi-apps and you got a lot of things, irons in the fire, plus traffic, plus summertime construction and construction zones and just everything out there. So my first point is, if you're looking for extra money to do gig work, I would start off with just trying to see if you can do overtime at your job. Now, many employers right now, especially if you're in labor markets, depending on the factory or company that you're working for, they have been flexing down hours or cutting hours at my local Amazon and Target stores. And that has caused much more people to look at gig work as an option. So, if you decide to do this, you have to be aware that there are drivers that have been doing it for a long time. They know the game, and they may or may not help you out along the way. I know a group of drivers, and there's a couple of them that will call around and talk to everybody every day. They befriend everybody, and they're like, hey, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to gain information on where you're at, what money you're making, and whether they should change their plan and come to work where you're working. Or they'll outright lie to their drivers and say, oh yeah, go here. I made $1,200 yesterday. It was great. It's a great place to make money. And it ends up being all falsehoods, and they just want you to go away from their honeypot where they're making money. So, but along with that, I got a message that was left a couple days ago from the MGO Blue chick, which I'm guessing is University of Michigan. She says, this brother and sister team travel 1 hour daily from Indiana to Southwest Michigan to steal from the local residents. Everyone has reported these two thieves to Spark, but nothing has happened thus far. They even brag on how much money they make to other drivers, while other drivers wait hours and hours to get offers. Spark is slow to act or simply doesn't care to respond about this issue. Now, I don't know if she's talking about them outright stealing the product from the customers, and if that's happening, they'll get caught eventually because customers will complain and that'll happen. But if you're talking about them stealing the orders from your market, that is not stealing. That is something Walmart Spark actually promotes. They show you how to change your zone very easily, and I even have a video on how to change your zone, of how to move around. And as times are getting tougher, and I honestly, guys, I think it's going to get a lot tougher. I don't think that we've even seen the tip of the spear where things are at. People are going to keep migrating, and I do it myself. People might hate me for it, but I've learned my lesson over the years that when festivals are going on, you got to go where the festivals are at. If there's concerts going on, you got to go where the concerts are at. If you lived, 2 hours away from where the Super Bowl is, on Super Bowl weekend, I'm going that 2 hours. My previous experiences over the years, I have seen almost gypsy bands of drivers gather together, rent hotel rooms, Airbnbs, come up from Chicago to northern Wisconsin for golf tournaments, the Ryder Cup, and just work the area all week long because they know that's where good money is at. So migratory drivers is not something new, and if you think that it's illegal or wrong, you're probably barking up the wrong tree. It is something that I recommend. I recommend that you go where the water's at. Don't stand in the desert and say, I'm dying here. If you're going to do gig work, you got to hustle, you got to work. And if they feel that it's valuable to drive 1 hour every day, which 1 hour, when I was a kid, an hour drive was far. Now, that's nothing. An hour drive is 60 miles, and in my vehicle, that's a gallon and a half of gas. So $6 to get to work. A lot of people pay a lot more every day to go to work. So it's all your perception on whether it's valuable to you. Going that extra distance, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get into other markets and things don't necessarily pan out the way you thought, and you end up spending a lot of time going into these other markets. The important thing to understand is when you do these migratory moves with different gig apps, you have to know whether you're able to do it in those areas. Walmart Spark, nationwide. You can pretty much go anywhere. DoorDash, same way. When you get into rideshare, I know in the state of Illinois, they require vehicle inspections, and you have to apply for the airport pickups, and you have to go through training and all these additional steps to work in different markets. So it's important that you know the laws and bylaws and tax implications and toll roads when you work in different markets, and how to kind of beat those things. But gas is getting more expensive, guys. I have noticed just this last week, gas was $3.19 or $3.17, $3.19 this last week. Now it's up to $3.49. So it is jumping very fast in 1 week, and I don't know if that's going to continue to go up. It's election season in the next year, so we'll see if they, that's how they keep us happy, keep gas cheap, and everybody kind of looks the other way. But I think that there's lots of situations in our economy that are going to show their ugly head soon. And, if it's not the baby boomer generation that's all retiring in the next few years, if it's not housing being very overinflated in price, and that's driving up rental prices, and the people can just not afford the pace that everything is growing at. People are getting raises. People at McDonald's got raises over this last year. I remember seeing signs, $17, $18 an hour starting at McDonald's. Now it's dropped back down to $14, $15 an hour. So they're starting to bring the wages back down, but rent and everything else has gone up. And more people are going to be looking at gig work. Apps like DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart, Ship Shopper, all those apps are throwing out lots of incentives to kind of keep drivers pigeon-held and motivated. Even Uber has done this new gray pay scale thing where they show you on the app where propensity for jobs are. Not surge prices, but it just shows you, well, historically, there's money to be made here. But in my market, they light up the whole city in all gray. Just say, oh yeah, it's all high paying. So it's such a waste of time. And it's, you get out here and there's two types of markets you're going to look at. The way I look at it is there's two types of customers, all right? People that use gig apps out of necessity and people that use gig apps out of convenience. And if your market, the people are using it out of convenience, you're probably in a good market. If people are using it out of necessity, it's going to be a tougher slog. I had a customer yesterday. He was saying, wow, rideshare here is a little bit more expensive than in Philly. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I could get around the city so cheap. He goes, I don't think I've ever paid more than $20 for a lift. But here, everything's spread out, so I have to pay more. And I was like, yeah, that's true, But Uber and Lyft have made everything so cheap for drivers that you have to look at the kind of customers that you're getting. And if you're taking the everyday man or woman that's going to work as a waitress or in the shop or whatever, and they're using Lyft or Uber because of necessity, because they don't have a car, because they don't live on the bus route, because, they just are in that situation, they're most likely not going to tip you well because they're spending 1 or 2 hours of their daily income just to get to work back and forth. And that is not technically the customers I would want to have. I'm not saying that everybody makes their own choice on financial availability and what it's worth to you. To me, if I'm going to build a brick wall, I want to do it with big cinder blocks. They might be a little heavier lift, but I want to do less blocks in my day. I don't want to be taking little $4 and $5 rides and stacking these little rides all day. Because in my van, I look at the wear and tear on the vehicle every time that door opens and closes. I would rather have one Uber reserve ride for $100 and, take me an hour and a half to do it than do 10 rides at $10, with 10 different customers getting in and out. That much more dirt, that much more wear and tear on your vehicle, stopping and going. I just like to do the long ball rides myself. And that's what I've been targeted at, especially during the last few weeks with a lot of summertime festivals we had going on. We've had a lot of concerts. They've had Beyonce and Snoop Dogg and Lil Wayne. Just everybody has been kind of coming through the Midwest doing the summertime concerts. And that has been a big boost for rideshare and hotels and the service industry's doing well right now over the summer. A lot of people are still taking summertime vacations, but I do think that is going to slow down as school year comes around. I know a lot of Spark and shopping will pick up as we start getting it towards school years. Could be a lot more deliveries there. Earlier in the year, Roadie was really popping because there was lots of deliveries for people's yard material and stuff. That was a heavy lift, but they paid pretty well for most of that larger stuff. So just kind of rambled on. I know this is a Thursday. I went really hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and typically I was taking days off, but over the summer, because it has been good for rideshare in my market, there was Northwest Mutual Insurance had their annual conference in the state of Wisconsin, so that was a big money maker over this last weekend. They have all now left. Now we're kind of getting back to the normal daily commutes, and actually this is like probably the first day that things have slowed down for me in weeks, just because I've been grinding so hard and kind of going at it. But wanted to touch bases with you guys. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll hit you on the next one.